Hello and welcome to another edition of Issues with Jide. Here we'll talk about actions and inactions of those insightful uh, actions and inactions of those who shape our political and national landscape and how these impact us positively or otherwise. I'm Ibrahim Shita. Today on the show, Yoruba versus Igbo, outrage over renaming of streets in Lagos. In the course of the program, we take your questions. But first, subscribe to our YouTube channel and drop your questions in the comment section. It's important to mention that we can only take or read comments with human names and the ones based on the subject matter. I have joining me via Zoom, the maestro himself, Babajide Kolade Tutoju. Good to see you, Vicky.
Good evening, Ibrahim. Good to do this with you again, and welcome back to Nigeria.
Right. Now, let us see, looking at the issue of the renaming of one of the streets in Lagos after Olamide Badu, and then the name was replaced with Olamide Badu, which the name actually was that of Charlie Boy bus stop, and it has generated a lot of reactions, arguments, counter arguments, claims, counter claims. But if you look at with over 20 non-Yoruba streets, street names such as Imoeze, Uzo, George, Queens, recently replaced by Yoruba names like Laiwola, Oluwa, Dadishoki. Proponents say that this affirms Lagos Yoruba's identity. But what do you make of this, Fulabalu regarding the renaming of streets after certain people while deleting others that people are familiar with in the first place?
Well, many people have seen what is going on as dangerous because it deepens ethnic division in our country. It has all the hallmarks of identity politics, ethnic nationalism, especially in the highly cosmopolitan states like Lagos, and is generating ethnic tension, whether we are prepared to identity or not. People have called me from different parts of the country wondering why this is going on and wondering why it has to happen at this time. A lot of people see it as just a demonstration of Yoruba political consolidation, ethnic posturing, ethnic bigotry, and a lack of mutual respect for people of other races. The truth that we must admit is that, yes, many of our people in Lagos, especially the indigenes of Lagos, are worried about cultural encroachment and erosion of some of the values that they are held on to and cherished for years. So they are not happy. They believe that something has to be done to address that issue. But in a nation increasingly fractured like ours, where the unity of his people is suspect, when you make a move like this, people's blood will boil. It's going to generate serious ethnic tension. And many people will start wondering, to what end do the people who have initiated this process, what really do they stand to gain? You talked about the fact that you mentioned the fact you said one street was renamed. Well, it's actually not one street. In Etiosa local government, for example, the council managers are like the head of service of the local governments. The civil servants in the local government are responsible to them. They report to them. The council manager actually put out a paid advert in a national newspaper announcing that they were going to change the names of some streets in the local government. So you will find that some of the rural communities in Etiosa local government were the most affected by this development because a lot of the names were changed. And I mean, a lot of the streets were renamed. And those streets remained renamed, then had Yorubas benefiting from the renaming. Yorubas. In fact, I was told that Wale Edun, the Minister of Finance, is one of the beneficiaries of the renaming of the councils, some councils in Etiosa local government. I just hope, and this is my humble opinion, I express my opinion on this program without reservation. I hope that after these two local government chairmen, that other local government chairmen in Lagos will not feel tempted to want to continue along this path because it is pointless. It is pointless. It's stoking ethnic tension. And for President Tinubu, I can understand why Senator Obafemi Ojudu felt that at this point, the president needs to send in a word to this council chairman to stop this process because it's like an ill wind. Politically, it's like an ill wind. I do not think that the president or the APC leadership, for example, stands to benefit from this. In fact, what these chairmen have begun has the tendency to further isolate the president, further isolate the ruling party. The Igbos in Lagos have, in the recent years, always voted in a manner that's socially antithetical to the political character of a good number of the indigenes. And they believe that after 2015, they believe that they have the population to actually determine who wins elections in some council areas in Lagos, especially in places like Amuwo, Odofin, Etiosa, and a few other places. At least 5 local councils, they are very strong, including even Ikeja, many parts of Ikeja, including Ojodu itself. There is an impressive Igbo population, and they always come out en masse on election days to vote for candidates of their choice, and they do well in those elections. So increasingly, they are carving out their own political identity. They are expressing themselves politically, and they are ensuring that their voices get heard. The victory of the Labour Party in the 2023 presidential election in Lagos is partly as a result of this. Yes, there were people from other ethnicities who voted for Peter Obi, especially the young people. There are many Yorubas who voted for Peter Obi because they felt that, unlike the regular politicians, he is more frugal, he's not wasteful, he's not patently corrupt. as we know many politicians to be. So his candidacy resonated with a lot of young people across political, ethnic, and religious divides. And in Lagos State, Peter Obi claimed victory in the presidential election, helped also by the fact of President Tinubu's decision to pick a northern Muslim as his running mate. So it was a Muslim ticket for the APC, and some of the people that we are talking about voted against that ticket because they didn't see someone of their own religious inclination, religious identity represented uh, on that ballot. Now they believe that an effort is being made to emasculate them and render them politically impotent and make their voices difficult to hear to be heard. I have to admit that in many parts of Lagos, people do not follow the they do not follow the right process in securing the in having their in having streets named against them. In some cases, people who are the first to get to a particular street, who are the first to build a house on a street, or who opened up a street, would suddenly name that street after themselves. This is wrong. It is the responsibility of the local councils
That's right.
to name streets and to name bus stops. No one has the power to, on his own, because he was the first to get to a street, name that street after himself. I remember the case of the former Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Ikuforiji, and a man from Eastern Nigeria. They were struggling over who should have a street named after him. Ikuforiji erected a signage indicating that the street should bear his name. Of course, his rival erected his own signage at the other end of the street. So that back and forth went on. But after Ikufoeji became Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, the man from the Southeast who was dragging that street with him eventually gave up the fight, knowing that he would um, inexorably use state power to ensure that he had his way, that the street was named after him. The point that I'm making is neither of them had the power to name a street after himself. It is the prerogative of the local government. Many of our people from the southeast are worried that in Lagos State, that they always say that they jointly built, efforts are being made to reduce them to beat part players within the state. They point to an indigenization bill that is before the Lagos State House of Assembly, in which the idea of giving certificate of occupancy to residents, to indigents of, to non-indigents of the state is now being replaced with what is called certificate of lease. That is what the bill proposes, that a certificate of lease, which will have a tenure of just 25 years, as against the certificate of occupancy that usually has a tenure of 99 years. So they are saying that this was deliberately designed for them to make it difficult for them to have access to land and to be able to build and consolidate on their business in Lagos State. If that bill says through, it means that after 25 years, your certificate of lease can be revoked and given to someone else. So permanent ownership of plots of land will no longer be possible for non-indigens. They can only renew after 25
Yeah,
years. And if
yeah,
they are not happy with you, you lose that land, lose that piece of land, no matter what structures you have erected on it, to another person who is interested. So when this happened, when the Charlie Boy saga happened, of course, this was helped by Charlie Boy's standing as a very strong person on social media, a famous Nigerian. It naturally drew the attention of people to what was going on. Many of them are not even aware that the Etiosa local government
it's been renamed.
council manager had actually gone ahead to announce the renaming of some streets. And those streets that were named, more than 70-80% of those streets bore Igbo names, but they were renamed.
But I heard you. The renaming of street. I actually said it in my intro. I guess it was the internet. Because there were about 20 non-Yoruba streets that were named after. The names were changed. Some of them, as I mentioned earlier, Imoeze, Uzo, George, Queens. They were recently replaced by Yoruba names like Laiwola Oluwa and Adishoki. But then, legal luminaries like Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, denounced the renaming of these streets as unconstitutional. He argued that LCDAs lack power to rename streets without public input. So, in your view, what legal mechanisms were bypassed, and how should public consultations be structurally embedded in such exercises?
I I know that local governments have the power to name streets and bus stops. I think the argument that Farana was making was that local council development areas, because local council development areas are not local governments in the real sense of the word. They are not listed in the constitution. So when he says that, oh, it's unconstitutional, I can relate because only 774 local governments are listed in the constitution. They are the ones known to our laws. A bill seeking to validate the local council development areas of Lagos State is before the National Assembly. So, and until that bill says true, those local council development areas cannot be seen as local governments, and their names, ab initio, show that they are not local government areas. So I think Falana was right in saying that it's unconstitutional um, for them to rename, for local council development areas to rename streets. That power rests with local government areas. And if you are not recognized as a local government area, it means that the action that you are taking is in violation of the law. So I can relate with that. But beyond even talking about the law, the point that we are making is at this time, when you set out to do such a thing, people's blood will boil. They will see identity and ethnic politics, ethnic chauvinism, ethnic nationalism playing out. That's the way they will see it. And people don't want to see ethnic tension rising in our country because ethnic tension can lead to real violent convulsions, you know. So that is why I agree with those who have said that the president has to um, come in at this point and tell them to stop this renaming. This should have been done a long time ago, but not now. The mood of the nation does not support this kind of ethnic renaming. And yes, ethnic nationalism is growing in our country, and the notion or that some people are trying to promote that Lagos is no man's land is a silly notion, and it is such things that are breeding this kind of attitude on the part of politicians. While I do not support a local government chairman renaming streets in the way that they have done, I do not think that it makes sense to say a place like Lagos belongs to no one. I am a historian and I've studied the history of Lagos. I know that you cannot say conclusively that Lagos is no
It's a
man's
no
land.
man's land. All right.
It's an annoying
It's
thing to say.
fallacious.
Yes, it's annoying to say that to the hearing of Lagos indigents.
That's right. Let me take some comments. This is Rotia Lade, called herself a cultural activist, archivist rather, saying, finally, I'm proud to see names like Laiwala Olua restored to our streets. Lagos must reflect its Yoruba heritage. Musa Limi says, every city honors its founders. Lagos should be no different. It's not tribalism, it's historical justice. Um, Emeka Ibe says, I grew up on Nnamdi Azikwe Street. Renaming it without consulting us is not just wrong, it's an erasure of my community's memory. Chidi Nwosu says, this isn't cultural pride, it's ethnic revisionism. Renaming Imo close in Ajegunle is tone deaf and dangerous. We have Bishop Oladipo says, we have been silent for too long. These new names remind us that our heroes walked these streets. Respect to Dadishoki way. And then Tolu Adediran says, under which law did the local council rename 24 streets overnight? Falana is right. This is ultra vires, and unconstitutional. And then we have Abubakar Osho says, street renaming isn't a problem. Lack of consultation is fix the process, not just the names. There is another one who talks about Ugochukwu DK says Google Maps updates faster than our councils do outreach. That's the real scandal. So I guess that's even very similar to the question I want to ask you. Because if you look at Google Map, Google Maps and the mailing systems, they've already updated the new names, while many residents report confusion and lack of information. Others are still stuck to the old names, for instance, the Charlie Boy bus stop, etc. What practical challenges from address changes to signage confusion should be anticipated in implementation, and how do you think authorities rather should mitigate disruption?
No, the thing is, there is nothing that they can do at this stage. It's going to take a long while before people get used to these names. Look at Walter Carrington Way. People still call it Kingsway Road till today. Something that was named after Walter Carrington since I think 1999 or so.
Yeah.
You know, yes, 1999. After President Tinubu became governor of Lagos State, people still call it Kingsway Road. The University of Abuja has been renamed Yakubu Gowon University. How many people call it by that name? So it's going to take a while. Kudirat Abiola Way used to be known as Oregon Road. People still call it Oregon Road after 26 years. After 26 years. So this is the thing. It will take a while. Younger people who never knew those streets by that name, a few years to come, will be able to relate, will be able to call it by the new name it's been given. That's talking about Charlie Boy bus stop, for example. Um, some years down the line, the name will stick in the mouths of young people, you know, who are not conversant with the history and all that.
Yeah.
But for people who had been used to um, calling it Charlie Boy bus stop, people who live in the area who on whose lips Charlie Boy bus stop gets mentioned every day, every blessed day of the week, until many of them go to their graves. I'm very sure that they will still be calling that bus stop Charlie Boy bus stop. It doesn't, old habits die hard. Before people assimilate and accept those new names, it's going to take a long while. So you can come up with signage, but it still won't change the situation. You can see
Yeah.
University of Ife was renamed after Awolowo. There was protest. The same way that people are not happy that Unimed was named uh,
Very.
after Buhari.
I guess
So
Unilag
what?
wanted to be named after Moshe Dabiola at a point in time. They had to
Yes,
drop it.
everybody. The protests. Um, Jonathan responded to the protest and he decided not to go ahead
Go ahead.
with the renaming. You know, so and the argument then was that he already had a polytechnic, one of Nigeria's best polytechnics, probably the best polytechnic for mass communication training in our country. He already had
That's
that.
right.
He already had that polytechnic named after him. So he already had the stadium named after him. So the argument was quite persuasive that there was no need to do that at that time. Then ex-students of this university, they rose in a wave and said, no, you are not going to do this. And
They had a
being a
point.
Democrat, being a Democrat, he backed down. So the renaming of streets is an emotive issue. Honestly, nobody knows. There are people who argue that Charlie Boy bus stop was not even named after Charlie Boy following procedures. You know, people have argued that they didn't even follow procedure in the first place. But
Yeah.
people are already used to that name, and being an Igbo man, once you took this kind of decision, and because they can see that so many other uh, Igbos who had street named after them had those streets renamed, is going to send signals that this is ethnic nationalism at play.
Yeah. Okay. So very quickly, I think our time is fast spent, but I want to quickly take one or two comments and last question. There is Ifeoma Ome saying that a legal analyst saying that you can't preach one Nigeria and then rename streets to reflect only one ethnicity. What message are you sending? Barrister Funke Oyelowo says street naming must pass through legal review and public hearings. Otherwise, it's administrative vandalism. English. Ken Dadiola says they used 2024 memo in 2025 without public notice. That's not governance. That's ambush. Very quickly, BK. Now, emotions are running high, as you've already also said. Given the sensitivity surrounding identity and street renaming, tensions have flared online and on the ground with accusations of exclusion, provocation, and silence. How should all Lagos residents, indigents and non-indigents alike, how should they respond responsibly to this situation? And what role does restraint, empathy, and civic engagement play in preventing ethnic polarization, especially amid the perceived inaction or quietness of some non-Yoruba communities?
So you see, man is by nature selfish, and people feel that they are not, or their ethnicity is not the victim of this renaming. A lot of them will find no reason to complain. because they are not directly wronged in
Exactly.
this whole thing. So they are leaving this simply to our brothers and sisters from the southeast to battle. But I do not think it is right. You know, I do not think it is right. If you rename a few streets, people may not raise eyebrows, but if they can see that more than 80% of the streets that have been renamed are actually streets that used to bear Igbo names, then they are going to, their blood will boil, they are going to complain. So this is
Yeah.
what we are saying. But there's a need for restraint. Nigerians who are abusing one another, you see the so-called rivalry between the Igbos and the Yorubas is pointless. To me, it's just class. There's a need to come together, and especially young people who have the voting
Yeah.
strength. There's a need
That's
for
right.
them to come together and pursue the similar agenda. Say, how do we elect the right people who will deliver good leadership in our country? All of these divisions, name calling um, uh, by Igbos against Yorubas, by Yorubas against Igbos, it's not helpful at all. And this was not the case. Yeah, at least it wasn't this bad. Social media has put so much power in the hands of people. Now, people just want to wake up and abuse other people and let out their frustrations on people who had not offended them. So these things are really, really um, fracturing us as a country and making it a lot difficult for us to unite as a people. There is a need
That's
for
right.
the Yorubas and the Igbos to see themselves as one. Intermarriage has happened a lot amongst them. So why is it that the Yoruba man sees the Igbo man as his enemy? Why is it that the Igbo man would rather embrace Satan than embrace a Yoruba man?
Mm.
I'm not saying this is a general thing, but it's not. I'm not saying that it happens in all cases, but it's becoming really, really a matter of concern. Look at the
Yeah.
contests on social media, the way they trade insults on social media. We've never had it this bad. And I do think that there's a need for leaders of both ethnicities to come together, reduce the tension, you know, that we feel, especially on social media. Reduce that tension, see how they can collaborate, and see whether we can actually have a situation in which the Yoruba man and the Igbo man see themselves as one, and even voting for the same candidates in future
That's right.
elections.
That's
So
right.
this is there's a need to bring down the tension. I am not saying that the decisions reached should be reversed, but I want to see a situation in which this does not continue. The other council chairmen shouldn't um, jump on the bandwagon and start renaming streets, targeting streets named after Igbo people. It will be so blatant.
That's right.
It will be so clear to everyone that there's an agenda against that race. If this is sustained, I think at this point it should stop.
That's right. Well, you've actually said it all. That's our show for today's edition of Issues with Jide. Special thanks to you, Babajide Kolade Otutoju, for those insightful analyses as always, and the Okulora of, I guess Enugu land. So I guess you've actually spoken, on behalf of your people.
Enugu Agulere.
Egungun
Enugu
Aguleri.
Agulere.
Exactly. Exactly. The
People
Okulora
will not
one.
know how. When I was given that title, it was because I chose to celebrate one of the finest military officers Nigeria has ever produced. He gave us a giant MRAP, mine resistance and ambush protected vehicle. He designed it. Despite how he studied history, designed that MRAP, delivered to the Nigerian Army. He was also a fantastic theater commander in Maiduguri. So I celebrated him. And then his kinsmen, his in-laws, saw it and said, wow, this person has
Appreciate.
celebrated our brother the way no Igbo man has done. That was how Eze Chukwuemeka, one of the most honest and respected traditional rulers in our country, decided to honor me from nowhere. So people don't know how it came about. And I've been speaking for the Igbo race for quite some time. No Nigerian journalist alive has called for the release of Nnamdi Kanu as much as I've done, whether on TV or in newspapers. All of those, the evidence is there. It's as clear as daylight. So
That's right.
that's why they consider me worthy of being the Okulora of Eri Kingdom, Enugu Aguleri, as the mouthpiece of the Igbos.
Of the
And
Igbos.
I have
Beautiful.
no regrets speaking my mind for my Igbo brothers. Whatever I believe is good for them, I speak about it. I'm not a tribalist. I've made fantastic Igbo friends, so why should I not defend them when necessary?
Absolutely. On behalf of the Igbo people, I say Ndewo, Dalu, Imela. One of which actually means thank you. Well done. Right, Vicky, thank you so much. And thanks to you to our audience
Thank
for
you.
keeping our thanks to you to our audience for keeping our company on every edition. You can see the program again anytime by subscribing to our YouTube channel, TVC News Nigeria. Click on the subscribe button to get the latest information. You can also follow us on our social media platforms at TVC News NG. I'm also at Ibrahim_Shita. On behalf of the rest of the team, I'm Ibrahim Shita. See you again next edition. Bye for now.